forget everything I said about Throne of Glass. I would like to pause there. I would like to take all of that back. I went into Throne of Glass with a secret that even Selena doesn't know. But Dorian... Okay guys, I finished Throne of Glass as the second book in the series. I read Assassin's Blade first. I'm going to tell you if I made the right choice. So I read Assassin's Blade first as the first book in the Throne of Glass series. A teeny weeny bit. It's so warm today. So I read Assassin's Blade as the first book in the Throne of Glass series. I wanted Selena's backstory and the context of her backstory and how that's crafted her as a person, so that what happens in the series, I've got an understanding. I wanted to do the world building first, and to be quite honest, I didn't want to have to go back after 3 books. Forget everything I said about Throne of Glass in the first episode, because I'm going to give you my hot take. This book was incredible. All I wanted to do when I read Throne of Glass was read this book. I did not want to do anything else. It was unbelievable. 5 out of 5. I do think the backstory that I got in Assassin's Blade really helped with the storyline of Throne of Glass, because I knew where she came from. I knew what had happened to her for her to end up where she was at the start of the book. I knew what it meant for her to have the promise and the deal and the bargain that she'd made. Actually, the backstory that we get from Assassin's Blade, where she's in the desert and she trains with the silent assassin. The friendship side of things is something that I really loved from Assassin's Blade, and I've got to see that again in Throne of Glass, so I'm really happy about that. We see her with Dorian, we see her with Cal, we see her with Nox, and the friendship that she builds with Nehemia. Beautiful. Everything that happened to Sam in the first book truly, truly shaped Selena, and we see that throughout Throne of Glass. We see that with her mantra, I will not be afraid. One thing I predicted when I finished Assassin's Blade was that I wasn't going to get the same intrigue and impact. I would like to pause there. I would like to take all of that back, because there is so much more that happens in this book where you then don't lose out on the intrigue and the impact from learning about Selena if you read Throne of Glass first, because there is so much that happens where you don't miss out on knowing those things. In fact, you feel kind of sneaky because you actually have secrets that Selena doesn't even know herself. Arobynn. She was talking about Arobynn very highly. She shouldn't be thinking like that, because we know Arobynn's true colours. I'd also like to apologise for what I said about future love interests and not feeling like they would hit the same after Sam, because Crown Prince of Adelan, Dorian, hello everybody. I was Team Dorian throughout that book. Cal, yes, I loved you. What a cutie, what a sweetheart. But Dorian, my heart went out to him when she called it off. It's literally the Crown Prince of Adelan. What more do you want? Okay, so verdict. Am I glad I read it in this order? Yes. I am very happy that I read the Assassin's Blade first and Throne of Glass second. I already had that emotional attachment to Selena because of Assassin's Blade, so the things that happened to her in Throne of Glass, I was already emotionally charged. I'd be tempted to suggest to people who enjoy the romance trope to read Throne of Glass first. However, prepare to get your heart broken, because she doesn't stay with Dorian. I think the ultimate thing is, whatever way you choose to read this series, it's God tier. These are 8 books of pure gold. I know I've only read 2, but I just know that what's coming in the next 6 is gold. Considering that I've only read 6, my mind still might change. There are things that haven't yet been revealed. Arobynn, that will be revealed eventually at some point, I hope, because I want her to exact her revenge on Arobynn. I've said it twice now. But those things that haven't been revealed obviously will lose their impact, I assume, because I have read them, so I still might change my mind. Predictions for Crown of Midnight. Let me go and get the book. Sorry guys, had to go and get the book because look how sweet and crisp this book is. My predictions for this book, obviously the king has threatened that Selena cannot put one foot out of line. She has to behave herself and do what she is contracted to do. Also, I'm really out of breath because I've just run upstairs to get this book. I need a tea break, guys. But I think we know it's Selena Sardodian at the end of the day. She's going to put her foot out of line. She does have a heart of gold. We've also seen it in Throne of Glass with her relationship with Nox, her relationship with Nehemia. I don't think it's going to be as simple as it sounds. We also know that Cal's life is tied to the contract, and I think there's a possibility that this will end in tragedy. It's not going to be smooth sailing for Cal. It's not going to be smooth sailing for Cal and Selena's friendship. And finally, on that point, since you said bye-bye to Dorian on a romantic setting, I do think Cal is going to get more airtime, and I think there's going to be something blossom there between the two of them. And on that note, I'm going to go and cozy on down and start Crown of Midnight. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to stick around and see how I progress through the Throne of Glass series, like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Bye!